Warriors.
Warrior. Hello, time travellers.
Hello, time travellers. Hello.
Hello,
Well,
Ed. Hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
What are we looking at this time?
One of the things we get asked about with people looking into their time travel is, how do I get to go and see a great warrior? I want you to pick a warrior that we should go back and see, but not just because they're a great warrior, because they're really interesting.
The beauty of time travel is you can go and look at things that you don't know much about and find out what the reality is. So there's a big debate at the moment, well, there has been for a long time, but particularly at the moment, about shield maidens. Shield maidens!
Shield maiden.
So these Viking Germanic warrior women, they're mentioned in sagas, they're mentioned by the Byzantines, and the aftermath of a battle, they find dead women in the ranks. The Valkyries themselves are supposed to be the guardians of Valhalla, and archaeology sort of seems to back this up. There are a few, particularly Viking settler graves, that have warriors' goods in it. They have shields, swords, that kind of thing. And there are some, like the warrior grave from Birka, which, when it was excavated about 100 years ago, it was thought to be a warrior man sitting on a chair surrounded by, two dead horses, shields, spears. And then it was recently redated and it was a woman. So a lot of people say Viking society was very conventional, it was run by men, for men. They can't really have existed. Yet there's archaeological evidence, there's historical evidence, and there's evidence in myths and sagas. So I want to go back and see if I can not get on the wrong side of a shield maiden.
Can you see my arrow there? My nice
It's
longbow
big
arrow.
Barbed arrow,
yes.
yeah. Hunting arrow.
Yes, I managed to hurt myself on that about 10 minutes ago, so that's a good sign. Longbow use, everyone thinks, oh, he's going to Agincourt. No. Have you heard of Mad Jack Churchill? Now, there's a warrior I want to see.
Yes.
Mad Jack Churchill.
Yes, do explain.
Mad Jack Churchill fought in the Second World War with distinction. He was decorated. He was a good soldier and leader, but he did have his quirks. And he went over with the British Expeditionary Force and he fought there, and he didn't forget to take his longbow. He is credited with being the last British soldier to shoot an enemy with a longbow. Legend says that he went and shot some Germans with it. In his own words, he said that his longbows were run over by a truck on the beach. It didn't really make it very far.
Oh, really?
Then it gets complicated. I think he got them mended and got them back. So he probably did use them in anger. But that's not all he did. Yeah, he had his longbow there, but he always led his men into battle with his trusty broadsword, his Scottish basket-hilted broadsword, because that's what a gentleman does, he said. That's what an officer does. He leads his men with a sword. Worse than that, he had one more weapon in his arsenal that would have terrified me. Yep, Jack Churchill often led his men into extremely dangerous combat, playing the bagpipes.
Glory, then. I mean, he is, I'd heard of him, but I didn't know about the bagpipe bit. I always thought that was Lord Lovat's piper
there are many,
at D-Day.
No, there are many other pipers, but Jack would wave his sword about, but he would often walk forward into extreme danger playing the bagpipes. He was eventually captured during the war and interned, and did quite well, because they mistook him for a relative of Winston Churchill, so treated him rather nicely.
We're left here with the time traveller's conundrum, Mark. You'd like to go and meet him, presumably at his glory period in the war.
Yeah,
how are you going to do it?
But I haven't worked that one out. No, because I'm going to get shot at. I don't really want to be shot at.
Yeah.
He's doing his thing somewhere rather dangerous, so you got a point there. But how are you going to see your shield maidens without getting driven into the ground like a carpet sack? I'm not sure about that one.
Yeah, that's something, I'd like to turn up at the Birka burial, and I need to learn enough, Old Norse or whatever, to be able to go, she a warrior then, or is it just a ritual thing giving her the appearance of a male burial? Sir William Hope. I'm going to go for it's partly inspired. The sword hanging on the door at the back of you.
Thank you.
Those kind of swords Dress swords look very sort of, they look spindly and a bit sort of like, oh, it's a fencing sword. No, they're incredibly dangerous weapons. Probably the fastest kind of sword of any sword on earth ever made, because they're just a whacking great spike and you move them with incredible speed and accuracy. And, of course, they're used in duelling. They go from rapiers, which are like that, but even longer. So from the 16th into the 17th century, you get long rapiers and they get shorter and shorter until you have these little things that look like an item of jewellery, but really they're deadly. Triangular section blade so that you can't sew it up. 2 inches of penetration is all it takes to kill someone with one. Deadly things. And Sir William Hope, who he was late 17th, early 18th century, Scottish sort of minor aristocrat, keen student of swordplay, realised that people kept getting killed in duels, and he practised French fencing and realised it was bloody dangerous. And he wrote several manuals on fencing until 1702. He writes the Swordsman's Vade Mecum, which is basically how to use a sword like that. And his basic premise is, don't get killed. You might think you're the best fencer ever, but if you get into a fight with someone, jump out the window. If you can't jump out the window, hit him over the head with your beer mug, then jump out the window. If you can't do that, kick him in the fork. And it goes on and on like this. This is a sword fighting manual at the height of the sort of era of duelling with swords. And then he goes, if you've got to fight, this is how you survive. And he gives a very simple technique for surviving a duel by basically batting away the enemy's swords until you get a poke at them or you jump out of a window. And for me, that's being a great warrior. You can go around going, I'm a warrior, I have killed many. But no, I like Sir William Hope because he probably saved a lot of young idiots who were going to stab each other with pointy things, and he saved them from a grisly death with his wonderful method. So, Sir William Hope for me.
I'm going to jump right across the world and do almost the same, but not. I'm going to head this way. See a nice katana?
Oh, yeah.
Now,
careful with your fingers and that.
Got to be
you know what you like.
Yeah, it's going to happen again. It's going to happen again.
Yeah?
This one is to remind me of a similarly good swordsman, actually a fantastic swordsman, sometimes called the saint of Japanese swordsmanship. He was stunning. Miyamoto Musashi, author of the Book of Five Rings, which is quite an impenetrable but very good sword fighting book. Tells you how to use one of these. He would have liked, though, the reason I've gone back for him, he would have liked your William Hope, because Musashi is supposedly, he fought in battles, he taught, he was a philosopher, a writer, he taught sword fighting. He also fought 61 duels undefeated. Now you have to be undefeated with one of these because otherwise you come out dead.
Yes.
And much like William Hope, he knew that duelling was about swordsmanship, but more than that, it was about winning, because losing is not a good idea. So he was.
It's not just winning; it's surviving. Is the trick.
And so two of his duels, which I love, are not the ones where you stand around doing the best swordsmanship in the world. It's the one where you work out the other guy's quite good too. On one occasion, he hid in a tree, so he was early, so that when his opponent turned up, who I presumes he thought was actually pretty good, he jumped out the tree with a big wooden stick and beat him to death with that before there was a moment to think. And I like that.
That's
another one.
That's a good warrior, yes.
And there's another one where he it was on a little island, and so he rows across with sort of purposeful look on his face, and instead of pausing, gets out of the boat with the oar, walks up the beach, twats him with the oar, and then leaves. Now there is a warrior who's not only a very, very good warrior, he's someone who understands that coming second isn't a good idea either.
The warrior regiment, female warrior regiment of the Kings of Dahomey, is one of the other things. It's like Shield Maidens. It's again something I don't know a huge amount about, and what I do know about is from European sources from the 19th century who were confused that there was a regiment of women, and they weren't just royal guards. They're often talked down as being royal guards. These were incredibly well-trained troops who were used to assaulting positions and fought in the centre of the Dahomean army and would cross barricades of acacia thorn, fiercely hacking their way through. And they were trained in martial arts. The last one died in 1979. amazingly. And there's still a tradition, apparently in Benin, of some of their martial arts have sort of been carried on. So again, it's I'm more interested in seeing warrior women than warrior men, I expect, partly because they're sort of almost written out of history. And I would love to go back in time and find out more about them, about how it worked, because I think we're only getting a very sort of small bit of the history. But I'm faced by one problem. Is apparently a boy would walk in front of them ringing a bell when they travelled around the kingdom, and all men had to avert their eyes. So, and
So we can't go and see them.
I can't go and see them, and I don't want to mess with them. I don't want to be going,
No.
oh, you know, having a peek.
No.
I don't think that would be very good. But they are one of the great sort of mysterious warrior elites of the world that I would love to learn more about, and I think time travel will be the best way to do that.
So Ed, we've got 5 different interesting warriors that aren't the ones most people would think are going to see. I'm going to have to pick my top one from this. What do I think, having talked to you? I think you've won that one, because I think you're right. I want to go and see Viking shield maidens. I want to find out the truth about that. What about you?
I'm afraid, yeah, shield maidens. I don't want to be disappointed and go back in time and find that they never existed. That would be disappointing. But I hope they did. Yeah, let's go and look at the shield maidens and try and survive.
Good evening all. Take care there. And remember, like us, share, subscribe. It's what we all want to do.